Social psychology studies the individual's behavior in society. This study is concerned neither with the study of the individual nor that of society, but of the interactions between the individual and the group. It is clear from the literal meaning of the word social psychology that it concerns the psychology of the human society. However, this is not sufficient to arrive at a scientific definition. It is true that social psychology is more closely related to society than general psychology. But on the other hand, while sociology is a study of human society, social psychology occupies a middle position between general psychology and sociology. The relation of social psychology and sociology with general psychology and sociology also clarifies the definition of social psychology. Thus, social psychology is neither a part of general psychology nor a branch of sociology. Its scope is so vast that it has now been accepted as an independent science. As a matter of fact, social psychology studies only the psychological aspect of these interactions. Social psychology studies the effects of this interplay upon the individual thoughts, feelings, emotions, and habits. Man is brought up in a social environment which comprises of relatives, friends, neighbors, and many others. All these influences the actions and reactions which bring some visible or invisible effects upon them all and do not leave even them unaffected. Man develops relations with all of them. Society is nothing but a network of all these relations which develop the individual's thoughts and emotions. Nature of social psychology. Social psychology is a science. Its method is scientific. Its nature is scientific. It studies the social aspect of human behavior through scientific methods. It is a science just like any other social sciences. In the words of W.J.H. Sprott, social psychology is concerned with the ways in which a person's conduct and dispositions are influenced by the conduct and disposition of other people. Along with the study of individual behavior, social psychology also studies group dynamics. The aim of this study is to find out facts, to establish relations between cause and effect, to make laws on the basis of these relations and to use them in solving concrete social problems. Social psychology uses scientific methods. The methods of social psychology are scientific. In social psychology, experimental method is widely used. In experimental method is widely used. In experimental method, a subject is placed under controlled condition for the sake of study. After a minute observation, a social psychologist puts down the facts in black and white, classifies them, and lays down the general laws through generalization. These are the laws of social psychology. It is thus clear that social psychology makes use of the scientific method. The other methods included in social psychology are not as much scientific as the experimental method. But even in them, an attempt is made to give them a scientific form as far as possible, and a great deal of success has been achieved in this attempt. Social psychologists may differ to any extent regarding the merits and demerits of some special method, but they agree that the methods in social psychology must be scientific. Social psychology is factual. The study in social psychology is factual. The decisions of the social psychologist are impartial and objective. They do not give the verdict. They describe the behavior and discuss the general laws. In this way, they relate to facts and not to values. Laws of social psychology are universal. The laws of social psychology are the same in all countries and in all times, although the psychology of a special human being may differ to any extent. For example, the law that individuals' behavior in a crowd is altogether unbalanced and different from their behavior when left alone will hold good everywhere. Laws of social psychology are veridical. The laws of social psychology are always found to be true after verification and re-verification. Their validity can be verified at any time. For example, there is always some sort of preconception, ignorance, and superstition at the root of group tensions, and this fact may be verified anywhere. Social psychology explains the cause-effect relationships. Social psychology discovers the laws of behavior and explains the cause-effect relationships therein. For example, the social psychologist discovers cause-effect relationships in mutual attraction between man and women, socialization of a child, and mob behavior makes useful laws. In this way, social psychology discovers what and why of any behavior. Social psychology can predict. Since social psychology discovers cause-effect relationships, it can predict about the human behavior, and this prediction is generally true. Therefore, in all the advanced countries these days, help is taken from the prediction by social psychologists in solving the various social. This help has proved to be very useful. It is clear from the above description that social psychology is an exact science, but it does not mean that it possesses the accuracy of the physical sciences. As a matter of fact, the same amount of accuracy cannot be expected from all kinds of sciences. The accuracy of a science depends to some extent on the subject matter of that science. Obviously, the science that studies the individual behavior in social situation cannot be so accurate as the science's physical effects because behavior is a complex, changing, and progressing phenomena. Thus, while calling social psychology an exact science, it is necessary to keep in mind the limits of its exactitude, although these limits cannot be said to be strictly definite. With the introduction of new methods, exactitude of social psychology is bound to increase. Scope of social psychology. While describing the subject matter of social psychology, Katz and Schank write, "It is this social world based upon the relations of man to his fellows, which furnishes that subject matter of social psychology. The whole society, so far as it influences the man in his interactions, may be called the scope of social psychology. The scope of social psychology extends as far as man's behavior influenced by the behavior of other individuals of his fellow beings. Wherever an individual's behavior is influenced by the behavior of other individuals or influences them, there one finds the subject matter of social psychology." To make it more clear, the scope of social psychology may be divided into stimuli and social stimulus situations, individuals' reactions and experiences arousing social stimulations, influence of social environment on the individual, social stimuli and social stimulus situations. In society, there are many situations which stimulate the individual to work in a particular manner. For example, when individuals are in a crowd, they are in a social stimulus situation because in this situation, the other individuals are present to influence the behavior of that individual directly. But the stimulus situation can be also indirect. There are many things which symbolically influence an individual. For example, national flag is symbol of nation's prestige. Its presence, its disrespect, its fall, its honor, or any other event may influence the individuals and their behavior. Again, social stimuli and stimulus situations may be simple or complex. Social psychology studies all such social stimuli and stimulus situations. In this study, it tries to discover the causes or the characteristics which permit the special social stimuli and social stimulus situations to influence the behavior of an individual. For example, the psychological aspect of communalism and communal situations in India has been studied. Individual reactions and experiences arising from social stimulus, social stimulations influence the reactions of an individual. A man's behavior in a crowd is at once different from the behavior when all alone. Not only is this, but the reaction in individual behavior varies in crowds of various types. Along with the study of social stimuli and stimulus situations, social psychology also studies in individual reactions and experiences arising from them. It discovers the cause-effect relationships in these reactions and experiences through a psychological analysis. Thus, social interaction is the subject matter of social psychology. Influence of social environment on the individual. Social reactions bring about a socialization of an individual. While learning the social ways and customs, one also adopts the social behavior. Socialization not only changes a man's outward behavior, but also the psychology. Some of the impulses undergo a change, and the individual cultivates some other social impulses. Social psychology studies the effect of social environment upon the individual. Functions, problems, and aspects of social psychology. Social psychology studies the behavior of the individual in society. It defines the individual behavior in social situations, discovers the effect of social stimuli upon an individual. In it is analyzed the psychological aspect of social interactions. Social psychologists formulate general laws about the behavior of man in society on the basis of cause-effect relationship. On the basis of these general laws, they may also predict about the behavior of individuals in society. After studying the behavior of an individual in a group situation, they find out the cause of different behaviors of an individual in different collective situations. On the basis of this analysis, they suggest a way to ease social tensions and social barriers. Human nature is such that it cannot but live in society. Man's nature impels him to live in society. The human child is endowed with some latent capacities. Human qualities like capacity to learn language, inquire and think, play and work, and help or harm others are developed in human society only. These capacities grow through social interaction with others. One cannot develop into a normal person in isolation. There are eminent sociologists like McIlroy and others who have cited a number of cases. Problems of social psychology. It is clear from the above brief reference to the functions of social psychology that the following are its main problems. Study of the individual's behavior in society. As has been said earlier, the study of the individual's behavior in society is the main object and the chief problem of social psychology. How is the individual's behavior influenced by the different social stimulations under different social situations? What is the effect of social environment on man? What is the effect of process of the socialization on man? The study of all such issues is included in this very problem. In this way, the first problem of social psychology is to describe what of the individual's behavior in society. That is, to describe the behavior of a man in different social situations. Interpretation of the individual's behavior in society, social psychology, is not satisfied with the study of the individual's behavior in society. Social psychology is science. A scientist is not satisfied with the knowledge of facts alone, but also tries to explain them by discovering cause-effect relationships in them. Thus, social psychology interprets the individual's behavior in society. For example, while it discovers the individual behavior and experience in a crowd, it also tries to explain why it so happens or why the individual's behavior in a crowd is so much different from his behavior when all alone. Prediction regarding individual's behavior. After discovering the cause-effect relationship, science predicts about the unknown on the basis of what is known. Thus, social psychology predicts about the individual's behavior in particular social situation on the basis of general laws about the cause-effect relationships. Undoubtedly, the capacity of prediction in social psychology is less than other sciences as its subject matter is complicated and changing. But even then, some success has been achieved, and this success goes on increasing with the progress of social psychology. To give suggestions to ease social barriers and social tensions, psychologists are neither social reformers nor do they remove the social barriers and social tensions. Yet, being a specialist in the subject, they give us very significant advice. For example, problems relating to different castes, communities, regions, and languages in India appear to be the result of tensions among different groups. Social psychologists study the psychological aspect of these problems and give suggestions about their solutions. Removal of social distance and easing of tensions is a necessary condition for the different groups in a society work together. In this manner, the suggestions of social psychologists prove very useful. Study of various groups. Groups are primarily studied in sociology, but social psychology studies their psychological aspect. This study helps in the interpretation of the different behaviors of individuals in different groups. Aspects of social psychology. It is clear from the description of the aforesaid problems of social psychology that, like other sciences, social psychology also has two aspects, theoretical and practical. As a matter of fact, no science is purely theoretical or purely practical because after the theoretical laws are discovered, they are put to some practical use. Theoretical aspect. As has been said earlier, the study and description of the individual's behavior in society is included in the theoretical aspect of social psychology. Thus, social psychology studies the social situations and social stimulations of individuals' behavior. It discovers the cause-effect relationship between them, and on the basis of the discovery, it lays down general laws about the effect of other individuals on the individual's behavior, habits, experiences, and emotions. Practical aspect. Social psychology does not stop with the discovery of general laws. It also predicts on the basis of those laws and suggests ways to ease social tensions and social barriers. Methods of study. As noted above, social psychology collects its facts by observation and experiment. Considerable attention is being given to the collection of data by conducting surveys as well as by conducting experiments using design of experiments. Further, attempts are being made to measure the various aspects of social behavior and to use statistical methods in the analysis of the data collected. Observation of individuals in their interactions with each other suggests hypotheses to be tested. Observation also yields data. Many methods and techniques have been devised to observe the social behavior of children when they are at play. In order to make the data from observation quantitative, the rating method is used. For example, a 5-point scale may be used to determine the aggressiveness of a child when playing with other children. If the child is not aggressive at all, the score 1 may be given, and if the child is highly aggressive, the score 5 may be given. In order to make the data derived from observation more objective, a team of 2 or 3 observers may be trained and asked to observe the same group independent of each other, and then the results are pooled and scores in aggressiveness given. Further, time samples may be taken, that is, the same group of children may be observed on, let us say, 10 occasions for 10 minutes each time. Like this, the method of simple observation could be refined in many ways to give reliable data. Interview. The interview is a face-to-face meeting in which the opinions and beliefs may be collected. The primary object of the interview is to obtain verbal expressions from the person in reply to some well-framed questions. To yield data of value, the interview has to be very carefully planned and conducted in a standardized manner. The questions have to be drawn up in advance and they must be tried out if on a few persons to find out if they can elicit the required information. The value of the interview also depends upon the qualifications and the training of the interviewer. The interviewer should be a dependable person so that the person interviewed has the confidence to express the opinions freely and frankly. The questionnaire is a written form of interview. The questions can be framed in advance and pre-tested. Later on, the questions can be printed and information can be obtained on a group of persons at the same time. Thus, the questionnaire is less time-consuming than the interview. Further, the answers to each question are written down by the subjects themselves. Each method has got its own advantages and disadvantages. Questionnaires may be used to study interests, opinions, and so on. The defect of this method is that further probing into the responses is not possible. This is why the questionnaire survey is generally supplemented by interview of some cases. Methods of survey. Surveys involve the construction of questionnaires which are administered by interviewers to representative samples of the public. The industrialists spend considerable amounts of money on what is called market research, which involves survey techniques. Their aim is to find out the potential market for their goods and the acceptability of their product. Similarly, newspapers conduct opinion polls in order to find out the views of people regarding the various issues before the public. Newspapers may also conduct readership surveys in order to find out the age group and income group of people read their paper, the education level of their readers, the items of the paper people generally read, and so on. The ratio authorities conduct surveys to find out the time at which most people listen to the radio, what programs they listen, how long they will listen, and so on. In recent years, All India Radio has introduced the commercials in the Vividh Bharati program. The charges for the commercials depend not only on the duration of the program but also on the time at which the announcements are made. The cost will depend on the surveys regarding listenership. Surveys are also conducted for theoretical research. The important aspects of the survey research technique are sampling, questionnaire design, and interviewing technique. There are two principal methods of getting a sample of respondents. Probability method. All geographical units in the population are put on punch cards and a sample of such communities are drawn at random mechanically. All the households in each area of the city, for example, are listed. Just a few of these households are selected at random for interview. Since the selection of the households is at random and unbiased, this procedure guarantees that each household in the population will have an equal chance of being included in this sample. This method is indeed very good, but it involves considerable work. The National Sample Survey of India is a huge organization that has been set up in order to conduct surveys regarding many problems of vital interest to the society like unemployment and consumer expenditure savings. The national census operation conducted once in 10 years is also a survey technique, but it does not use the sampling technique. It enumerates each household in the country. Quota sampling. Neighborhoods are chosen at random, but the selection of the household in each area is left to the discretion of the interviewer. But the interviewer is given a pre-assigned proportion of males and females, old and young, rich and poor, educated and illiterate, and so on. This method is cheaper and quicker than the probability method. The design of the questionnaire, as noted above, is an art. Similarly, the interviewing is also an art. The questions have to be pre-tested and the interviewers have to be trained thoroughly. Measurement. While observation depends on seeing and recording and survey techniques depend on interviewing and recording, measurement goes a step further and assigns numbers to the events in accordance with certain rules. Measurement implies the mapping of observations into a number system. When this is done, the resulting values can be added, multiplied, and so on. Conclusion. Social psychology is concerned with the interactions between individuals or between individuals and groups. Thus, it is a study of the behavior of persons in social situations. It is a study of the way in which an individual influences other individuals and the way in which he himself is influenced by other individuals. The social interaction can take place in a face-to-face situation, as when two friends or a parent and a child are interacting with each other. Social psychology has even greater importance for a country like India, which is at the moment passing through a period of crisis in which disruptive forces have gained momentum and the social problems have assumed almost unmanageable proportions. The unity of the nation has been endangered. Under such circumstances, the contribution of social psychology have added importance.